So everyone have a chair and a second chair or a couch or a bed or something, okay? So have two chairs facing each other. I could also just use the couch like this, you see? All right. Two chairs facing each other. And then it's helpful if you have a bolster and a blanket. You don't have to, but if you do, it's helpful. And then I'm also sitting on a blanket. The purpose of the blanket that I'm sitting on is to have the hips a little higher than the knees. That way I can get a deeper fold at the groins. So I come in close to the second chair, and the bolster is about the level of the knees, okay? Then I come forward. The chest will come to the bolster, and then the head down. So this is Adho Mukha Virasana. I'm going to come a little bit closer to the couch. Adho Mukha Virasana, make sure that there's no compression in the abdomen, but that the chest is fully supported. See that you're bending at the hips and elongating the whole spine forward. So here in Adho Mukha Virasana, observe the flow, the direction, and the shape of the prana. The prana is the life force, the vitality. The Chinese call it qi, like Tai Chi. Koreans and Japanese call it gi, like Aikido. Taekwondo, they all have the same root word, gi. So it's the life force. And so here in Adho Mukha Virasana on the chair, you should feel, or Pavanmuktanasana is probably more accurate. You should feel the prana spreading through the back body and then elongating toward the head. The prana, from a yogic perspective, is carried by the breath. The breath is kind of a metaphor for the prana. So as you feel the breath moving through the trunk, then you will also feel the life force, the vitality, traveling with the breath. Broaden across the back ribs. You could spend a good 5-10 minutes or more here. And now from here, but we won't spend that much time today, so we can move on to other things. So now from here, push your hands into the bolster and sit up. Sit up. Now look what I do. I'll angle myself 45 degrees to the left. So the chair that I'm sitting on is angled 45 degrees to the left. So now the bolster is in line with my right knee, right thigh, okay? And then I extend with my left arm and extend over. So this is called Parshva, Pavanmuktanasana. So it's an angle. Parshva means side. It's an angle forward bend. So you should feel a long length in that whole left side. And then you'll feel a different formation, a different direction of the prana here, because we're now in a slight twist. Turn the navel toward the right inner thigh. Lengthen both sides of the rib cage so they're equally long as you extend through the hip side. And inhale, push your hands down and sit up. Come back to center. Now turn your chair the other way. So now the bolster will be in line with your left leg and you're angled 45 degrees to the right. Reach up with the right arm And then extend over onto the bolster, chest onto the bolster. Rest your head. Turn the navel to the left. And elongate the left side of the ribs so that the trunk is extending evenly on a diagonal to the left. See that the hips are still heavy on the chair, the right buttock descending onto the chair. Observe the difference on this side. You know, we all have asymmetries of the spine, so I've never met anyone with a completely straight spine. So you might notice that there's a little different sensation here, or that you might need to treat each side a little bit differently. In other words, maybe the opposite buttock is lifting a little bit, so you have to shift your weight over to that opposite side. Maybe you'll feel the side ribs shrinking on one side, so elongate on that side more and more. And then once again, observe the prana, observe the shape of the life force, the vitality, the energy, the chi, the ki of the pose. The direction, the shape. And then come back to center. Come up and then come back to center. Now angle your chair straight on again. So facing the first chair. Facing the bolster again. And then pressing your hands down, extend your trunk forward, rest your head. Take a few breaths here, coming back to center to observe the difference between Parshva, Pavanmuktanasana, and classic Pavanmuktanasana to the center. Observe the difference in the pranic direction and the pranic shape. See that the hips are still descending on the chair and the trunk is extending evenly. This is a really great pose for back issues, headaches, hip issues, really useful for a lot of things. And then pressing your hands into the bolster, sit up, coming up to your feet. Have your chair against a wall or heavy furniture, and then have your bolster on the chair. Take your hands toward the back of the seat of the chair, and then rest your head in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Press the thighs back. Inner thighs back. Take the middle of the thigh back. Grip the quadriceps. Draw from the outer hips down toward the outer heels. Extend through the arms. Draw the spine from back to front. All of these poses you could stay for as long as you want. And today we're not staying forever because we only have 30 minutes together. But when you do the sequence on your own, you can pause the video and stay as long as you want in any of the poses. Especially when the poses are supported, then we can stay without straining ourselves. Step forward. You can be in a concave uttanasana like this. So a supported forward bend. And inhale, come on up. Okay, so we're going to do some standing poses with the chair, with support, and I'll show you. Okay, step the legs wide. Whoops. Okay. So the recording is still going. All right. So step the legs wide. And then turn the left leg out. The chair is facing away. And then from here, turn the left leg out, turn the right foot slightly in. And then from here, the armpit goes to the top of the chair, the palm goes to the seat of the chair. Yeah, so make sure your feet are wide enough apart that you can get the armpit into the top of the chair. If you're very tall, you might need a tall chair, or you can add extra blankets. You can put like a sticky mat, a blanket, maybe 2 blankets, if you need to build up the height of the chair. All right, so with your left hand pressing into the chair, press down through the left foot, pull up through the left leg, turn the left leg out so that the left knee is facing the ceiling. Press into the right outer heel. Press the right thigh back as you roll the left thigh out and bring the buttock under, left buttock under. And hopefully with the support of the chair, you feel a long length in the sides of the trunk. The chair is kind of holding the trunk up. And then roll both shoulders back so that the chest opens. Kind of pull the chair in a little bit toward you, and that's going to help to open up the chest. As you roll the shoulders back, the left shoulder back, the right shoulder back, then turn your chest to the ceiling and maybe even your head. And come on up. Turn the feet, step together, and move the chair to the other side. So step the legs wide. Turn your right leg out, left foot in. And then extend over with the palm. Get the palm onto the chair and the armpit onto the top of the chair. You got to step very wide. Step very wide so that the armpit touches the chair, or you need to build up the height of the chair, or use a taller chair. All right, so the first thing is to observe your right foot and make sure that the right foot is pressing evenly. And then gripping the quadriceps, roll the right thigh out, roll the right buttock under, press into the left outer heel, press the left thigh back, and then roll both shoulders back, starting with the right side, roll the shoulder back, turn the right arm up, spread across the top chest, lengthen through the crown of the head, turn the chest to the ceiling more and more, and maybe turn the head. The head is not the priority. The priority is actually the right leg turning out, right buttock coming under. And then inhale, come on up, turn the feet, and step together. All right, bring the chair back to the left side. This time, place the bolster on the seat of the chair. Now, if you're on your period or you're pregnant, you could have the chair against the wall. So I don't have a wall here, but imagine if I had a wall here, then I could be in Ardha Chandrasana with my heel up at the wall, all right? So you're back to the wall, all right? Now, watch. I turn your left foot out to face the chair. Left foot out to face the chair. Then bring your left elbow onto the bolster. The armpit is caught at the top of the chair. Yes. And then leaning into the chair, lift the other leg up. If you're at the wall, you can have the heel at the wall. Good. So this is Ardha Chandrasana with support. See that the left hip is supported, is directly over the left heel. And then grip the left quadriceps, bring the left buttock under. Extend through the whole left side of the trunk. You can, if you have your balance, you can take your hand on your hip. Roll both shoulders back. So remember, the purpose of this bar under the armpit is not to poke you, but to kind of remind you to roll both shoulders back. And it's a feeling of bringing the back of the armpit toward the front of the armpit so that the chest can turn. Extend through the crown of the head. Don't lift your head. Extend. In other words, bring your ears parallel to the floor. And then maybe you can turn your head. But when you turn your head, not to lift it up. Just turn your nose up. Ardha Chandrasana. This is one of the very best poses for both menstruation and pregnancy, because it creates a lightness in the uterine region. Okay, now bending the leg, come on down, and let's go to the other side. If you have a second wall, you could even put your lifted foot into that second wall, you know? So now the right foot is facing the chair, and then bending the right leg, bring your right elbow onto the bolster, your right armpit onto the back of the chair, lift the other leg, straighten the standing leg. You can hold on to the chair until you feel really stable in the standing leg. Yeah, have the armpit cut there. And pull up to that standing leg, roll the buttock under. Hand on the hip if you feel balanced, and then reach through the left leg. Extend to the left leg, and if, like I said, if you have a second wall, you can even push the foot into the wall. But definitely heel at the wall. I could probably even do heel at the wall here because I have enough of a wall here. And then spread across the top chest. Remember that top of the chair is not poking. Is not meant to poke that armpit, but instead to sort of awaken it, to bring the back of the armpit to the front of the armpit and to turn the chest, turn the collarbones, turn the ceiling. Not to lift your head, extend through the head. Yes, extend through the head so that the ear, as if you're listening to the ground, as if you're listening, as if you have your ear to the ground. As you open the chest, then the head is also invited to turn, but it doesn't have to. It's really the chest that has to turn. But not even so much the chest, it's the right leg that has to turn externally. Okay, come on down and come on up. Okay, Prasarita Padottanasana. So coming back to the two chair setup that we had at the beginning of class. So now I have two, I don't need the blanket here. The chair is in front of the second chair, so I could do it like this. do it like this. All right? So if you have a second chair, or if you have a couch or something, the second chair is an extension of the first chair. It's helpful if you have a block and a blanket like that, because the block is an extension of the bolster, you see? No, it's a standing pose, but that chair should be sideways. Your gray chair should be sideways. And I guess they're slightly different heights. The bolster matches the end of the chair. The bolster should come all the way to the end of the chair. Bring it onto the gray chair. Yes, right there. Okay, good. Now, step the legs wide. Step the legs wide and touch the pubic plate to the top of the bolster. And then come forward. Now, yeah, if you're pregnant and to accommodate the growing uterus, then you'd be back a little bit. But if you're not bulging yet, then you can just be here. All right. See that the hips are over the heels. Make sure there's no compression of the uterine region. Inner thighs back, top thighs back. Gripping the quadriceps. Roll the inner thighs back as you bring the outer hips to the heels. Extend the trunk evenly. So this is similar to how we started class off with, except that now you're weight bearing. If you're on your period, it's nice to have the whole abdomen supported because it's very soothing. It's very calming, very soothing for the uterine region. This is also a really lovely pose to stay for a while. But since we only have 30 minutes, we're not going to stay very long. But you can always come back to it. And then come on up. Turn the feet and step together. Okay, so let's take chair Sarvangasana to finish. So you'll have a chair, you'll have a bolster. It's helpful if you pad the chair. You can put your sticky mat. If you're tall, you could even put a blanket, 2 blankets. Have the chair a little bit away from the wall so that you have space to hook your legs. All right. And then with your legs hooked over the back of the chair, extend toward the center of the room. I'm still holding onto the chair. Then I take my hands down. I'm still holding onto the seat of the chair, to the legs of the chair. Then I slide my shoulders. I unhook my legs, I slide my shoulders onto the bolster, head on the floor, and then catch the hands underneath the seat of the chair and extend the legs straight. If you're pregnant, you can take your feet wider, hip width, which is the way that you'll have them through the entire pregnancy in order to accommodate the growing uterus. Reach through the heels so that the backs of the legs lengthen. Pin your shoulders down so that the chest is lifting toward the chin. reach the tailbone up so that the back lengthens. Big open chest. Have the chest moving toward the chin as you descend the chin toward the floor. This head position is really good for the thyroid. Really good for the thyroid, the parathyroid, and so really important for cycles, for menstrual cycles, really important during pregnancy because it helps to regulate the hormone and accommodate the changing hormones throughout the pregnancy. It's also really wonderful during pregnancy because it's creating space in the lower abdominal region, creating space for the growing uterus. The baby loves it. And even in late pregnancy, this is really good for helping the baby get into a good birth position by creating space in the lower abdominal region and in the birth canal. So rolling the thighs in, extend up through the heels, spread across the top chest. Now notice that the prana here, because you're upside down, the prana is flowing toward the head side. So it's really bringing a lot of vitality to the heart and lung region. During pregnancy, you have a lot of extra blood, a lot more blood than usual. And so this angle of the inversion might become too much as the pregnancy continues. So then what you would do is you would build up the support under the shoulders so that the angle of the inversion would not be so steep. So just something to keep in mind. So like all the other poses, this one you could stay in for quite a while longer. But for now, we will release the arms and then bending your legs, lie down to the hip side. Rest your hips on the bolster, shoulders on the floor. Now, 15%, about 15-20% of women have vena cava issues during pregnancy, meaning they can't lie on their back for any length of time because of the pressure on the vena cava vein. And so the signs of that, you would feel nauseous, you would feel dizzy. But most women, they can tolerate being on their back for a short time. But if that's not the case, then you should not spend any time on your back, or very little time. But if you feel fine, then you can be on your back for short periods. Okay, now pushing the bolster toward the chair, slide all the way down, and then you can be here in Shavasana for a few minutes or as long as you want with the legs on the chair. During late pregnancy, you could lie on your stomach, lie on your side instead. All right, I'm going to wrap up, but you can stay as long as you want. And hope you have a wonderful day.